Welcome to Zone to Speak, reporting from the road at the Via Race. 4,000 kilometers of pure ultra cycling from Italy to the Netherlands. I'm Juliana, traveling with the race and bringing you daily highlights, rider stories, and the moments that define the ride. Let's dive in. Reporting from day 9 of the Via Race. The finish line in Amorongen is almost in sight, and the tension is building like a storm on the Dutch flats. Today's episode is packed. I have got race leaders shaving hours off the clock, surprise shake-ups on the podium, and a daring detour that actually worked. Oh, and don't go anywhere, because after the race report, I have an exclusive roadside interview with Pete Alfano, the wizard wrenching behind the scenes of the Via Race. If it creaked, cracked, or failed, he's seen it, fixed it, or at least had a good laugh. That's coming up right after this update. So, the chase is on. As of this morning, the men's race is screaming into its final 500 kilometers, with Adam holding on to a narrowing lead, barely 2 hours, now ahead of fully recharged Bruno, who seems to have entered, quote-unquote, no sleep till Amorongen mode. From a 7-hour deficit just yesterday morning, Bruno's wild comeback is making this a nail-biter to the finish. Can he keep pushing without rest, or will fatigue catch up? The last big checkpoint is behind them, or the last gate is behind them, the Herman Monument in that mode, where Roman ambitions once met defiance. Now it's all about stamina, strategy, and staying awake. Meanwhile, the fight for third just got spicy. Jakub Tomasek leapfrogged Lucas Becker overnight, sacrificing his sleep for speed. He's now 2 hours ahead, but Becker's steady pacing might pull it back. This podium battle is far from over. Over in the women's field, Gosia seems to have bounced back from her stomach bug and still leads. But Joanna is hot on her wheels despite endless alpine rain and soaked kit. Both have been playing leapfrogging hotel dryers and wet mountain passes, and the gap remains just a few hours. Fiona Shorten is holding steady in third, and Em Wilson is regrouping after some rough weather and a fever. We are cheering for a strong comeback. Cargo bike warriors don't go down easy. The riders and the wild cards. Yahir Hoglan pulled off a genius route detour via Munich and reached Refuge 2 an hour ahead of his rivals. Bold move, big payoff. Mark Huel is still in fifth, now with some extra gear courtesy of a dog bite. His resilience is remarkable. Christian Jakubek is charging ahead with what he calls berserk mode, aiming for the top 10 and using a stick and plastic bag mudguard. Grit, human, and improvisation at its finest. Yahani Sario climbed from 80th to 20th, leaving proof that the long game matters. And Gregor Towers is still holding strong with a clever hydration setup and a solid top 10 presence after bouncing back from tech issues. Unfortunately, we have had some scratches, bringing the total to 21. The toll of the weather is real out there. And one more thing, Via Race History Part 4, the final chapter in our deep dive into this race's wild and wonderful backstory, drops tomorrow. If you have enjoyed learning how this epic ride came to be, you won't want to miss the conclusion. And now, some grease, grit, and good stories. Enough racing, let's talk tools, tape, and the weirdest bikes on the road. Coming up next, I sat down with Pete Alfano, the Via Race's on-the-road mechanic. Pete's been living out of a support van, patching bikes and patching spirits. From paracycles setup to DIY hacks to please don't let this break again moments. Pete's got stories. Strap in. It's time to hear from the man who sees every kind of bike and break down up close. Let's roll. All right, time to shift gears. I'm catching up with the man who is seeing it all from the roadside. Pete Alfano, on-the-ground mechanic, from busted derailleurs to duct-taped miracles. If it's broken, he can probably fix it. Pete's been crisscrossing the course alongside the riders, keeping wheels turning and spirits lifted. Let's find out what's been squeaking and what's been snapping and which bike made him go, oh no, not again. So, Pete, what's the weirdest or most unexpected repair you have had to make so far?
I think the most unexpected repair was probably at the start when one of the riders wanted to purchase a new tyre, which is on the evening of the race, which is always quite a surprise. That's probably the weirdest one this year. Last year it was tyre related as well. So last year it was, I need to change my tubeless setup because it's leaking air. So we tried to fix it at registration. It didn't work. And then 20 minutes before the race started, I was inflating a tyre and setting up tubeless on one of the riders' bikes. Yeah, you could see the start line and the riders gathering at the start line, and I was still inflating a tyre waiting for it to pop onto the rim.
That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, that was interesting, I think is probably the word for that. Yeah, my heart rate was probably like 160. It was...
His was probably 180.
Yeah, I think he was ready to go, like ready to go. Yeah.
Is there any tool or repair part that you wish every rider carried with them, but they just don't?
I think I'd like them all to have the right Allen keys or Torx socket set for their bikes, so that they have the right tool to change all of the, tighten any loose bolts, and to know how tight they need to be.
Especially on a 4,000-kilometer race, I mean, something will go wrong at some point. If it doesn't, then you're so lucky, because it's about to happen. I mean, it's just too many hours on the bike that you're going to need something, and you should have the basics.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we did a webinar and opened it up to everybody, but principally for our kind of more inexperienced racers. Did a webinar before the race where I sat down with Ian and we had a conversation about what tools you should take, what you should be familiar with. So repairing kind of punctures, making sure that you've got a new chain, new cassette, new tyres, thinking about all those wear components, disc brake pads, rim brake pads, whichever kind of braking you're using, you're going to need a second set of pads. If it rains like it has done this year, we had a guy here at Refuge 2 who'd gone through a set of pads descending out of the Alps. But he'd brought more with him because prepared, experienced racer. But yeah, if you're trying to race 4,000 kilometres, you need to have spares. It's not like, I do 4,000 kilometres across training across a few months. This is 4,000 kilometres in as quickly as you can manage it. Everything wears faster.
Yeah, because even if you can reroute, like Via, you make your own route, so you can go and stop by a bike shop. It doesn't mean that the bike shop will be open. Doesn't mean that the bike shop will have the parts you need. And it can cost you a lot of time and unnecessary stress.
Exactly. You have to find a bike shop on Google. You have to go and hope that the bike shop stocks your brake pads or your chain size. You know, if you're running 12 or 13 speed, maybe the shops only have up to 11 speed. You don't know what they have until you get there. It's time, it's stress, it's money, and lots of these things can be kind of easily fixed. You can carry a couple of quick links to fix your chain in an emergency in case you break it. But most bikes, modern bikes, are super reliable if you take the time and care to maintain them and have a full kind of service before you come to the race. It should hopefully get you through the race if luck holds.
And it's really cool that Via does this webinar with you. I mean, I haven't seen any race do that. I mean, races do tell you more, there's a manual that you can see what they suggest that you take, but not a webinar with a mechanic there to guide you. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think for me, it fits with our kind of community ethos for the race. So the same as, my support here with the broom wagon is as much about making sure that all of the riders have their kit at the start and doing the safety checks on the bikes, as it is to providing support to our more vulnerable or less experienced riders, be them para riders or just people who are on their first ultra. The knowledge that I am there as a potential safety net is hopefully a motivator to get them moving forward. And I think the webinars are a really good way of building that community and making them feel more confident before they arrive at the race, but also encouraging them to get to know each other and thinking about making those connections so when they turn up at the race, they're recognising familiar faces and they're more relaxed.
And also, I mean, it's not every race, ultra race, I should say, that has a mechanic on the road traveling with the race. I haven't seen that either. I mean, on a gravel race, or sometimes ultras have when you get there at the start, someone to help you if something goes wrong when you're putting your bike together to check your bike, and that's really cool. There is usually also a charge for that. But you are here, you help everyone, and you are following the race. I mean, that's really nice. I mean, VIA really is walking the talk.
Yeah, we try to, we've said we want to build a community, and I think, Ian and Ingeborg have been really driven by that, and that's what attracted me to get involved. And the opportunity to encourage people who might not think they're able to compete in ultras or that ultras are accessible to them was a huge driver for me to come and contribute and be part of that. It's not support in a kind of supported, I'm not driving behind these riders who are there to provide them with support. What I am is essentially like an emergency travelling bike shop. So if they're in the middle of nowhere, I'm there they can phone me, and it may be 3 or 4 hours before I can get to them, but if they know that I can rescue them from the top of a mountain, or I can extract them from a potentially dangerous situation, then that makes our race more successful, because we're making sure that these people are safe and they are keen and willing to come back next year, and we can keep growing the kind of ultra cycling community.
Right, yeah. You're not here for changing tires. It's more for any catastrophic event. I mean, maybe not as dramatic as catastrophic, but it's if there's a real need that someone can get out of a situation. That's really nice, because it's good peace of mind, especially on the ultra. And speaking as a woman, I haven't seen that, and I don't think I can race 4,000 kilometers, but it almost makes me want to try it, because having this type of support is unheard of.
Yeah, and I think that's what we want to build, a community where people feel like they can push their own limits. And if me being there as a safety net in the background enables you to push yourself further and discover new things about yourself, make new achievements, make new friends, complete 4,000 kilometres, that's brilliant. And I'm happy, even if I might only talk to you at the start to safety check your bike, but if me just being around helps you get to the finish, I'm delighted. And then we can be at the party. Yeah,
looking forward to that. Now, how about funky setups? What have you seen out there of funky bikes or funky setups that you're like, oh, haven't seen this before, or how is this person going to get on?
Well, I think there's a few. So there's a really cool cargo bike this year. We've got one competitor, M. They're on a cargo bike, and they are running a really nice Omnium titanium cargo bike with SRAM, a mix of kind of mountain bike and road setup in terms of gearing to get them over the hills. Nice dynamo setup, some really nice dynamo and lighting setups about. Lots of people running new Shimano 12-speed, also running lots of SRAM. You see lots of SRAM generally at these races, I think, because the cross-compatibility between rear derailleurs, being able to run a mountain bike rear derailleur and being able to run road shifters for drop bars is a huge bonus, and everyone seems really happy with that. I think most of the racers are kind of running those sets. We have got one guy running a wheel top Chinese group set.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is very cool. That can run anything between 9 and 13 speeds. From what he was saying, it's been pretty reliable. Fiddly to set up, but pretty reliable. In terms of other funky bikes, I am quite biased because there is one rider here on a frame that I built.
And he's doing really well.
He is doing really well. I think he's sitting like 12th at the minute.
Yeah.
He's just outside the top 10, which was his top 10 was his dream for the, but you don't know. There's still a week left. There's a week of racing,
There's
potentially
still a lot of
less.
kilometers
There's
ahead,
they've still got a good 1,800 kilometers left to go, so plenty can happen in 1,800 kilometers. But yeah, he messaged me a couple of days ago to say the frame was astonishingly good. He was delighted with it. It was doing all the things we designed it to do. It was riding how we'd hoped it would ride. He was super comfortable. So yeah, for me, that's an excellent, that's my biased kind of favorite bike at the race.
That's really cool. I think mechanics are the heroes of every cyclist. I love my mechanic. I want to keep the man happy always. And you're not only a hero, but you also build frames. Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so I build bespoke steel frames, everything from time trial bikes to hardtail mountain bikes, gravel bikes. Everything I build is fully bespoke to the riders. I've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years now. My most recent time trial bike won best paint job at Bespoke, so like a really cool dazzle camo job, and I raced that. Thank you very much. I raced that before we came here, 100-mile TT, and so that was my treat to myself to returning to racing. But yeah, frames are all fully custom to the riders. I'm trying to build more, or interested in building more ultra cycling kind of frames, because it's where my passion lies. These road riders, people who want to experiment, do interesting things, and I think the beauty of building custom frames is you can have quite a specific idea in mind, and then you get to work with a rider who shares your vision, and between the two of you can come up with a really creative project where you're making something that's not like anything else out there, and it's uniquely suited to the riders, the riders' requirements.
Very cool. Well, make sure to check the episode description where you can find Pete and how he builds bike. I was going to ask a question now, but I think I know the answer, which is if you had to race Via right now, which bike would you take to race it?
Well, I know this frame builder. I'd have to ride it on one of my own bikes. Absolutely.
Which rider's toolkit made you laugh? Either because it was impressively over-prepared or hilariously minimalistic?
I'm always amazed by how little the guys at the front end carry with them. And I know they have all their kind of the necessary kit, and they're not going under-kitted out. But it is astonishing how little they carry with them at the front of the race, and they're kind of prepared to succeed, but they're prepared to fail as well. So it's kind of a go big or go home a little bit, I think, for those guys at the very pointy end of the race.
Yeah.
And in terms of it tends to be that I think when you come to your first ultra, you're kind of over prepared. So you think, oh, well, what if this happens, and what if this happens, and what if I get a puncture in the middle of nowhere? It's my fourth puncture. I should carry 4 tubes. Or, I think the thing I find now is lots of people have a huge amount of faith, and rightly so, in their tubeless setups. They might not have ever repaired a tubeless puncture because tubeless tyres generally are really reliable. And so it's quite uncommon to get a tubeless failure. And so when that happens, that can be a big surprise to people. They don't necessarily have all the things they need to kind of plug the tubeless thing, so they're having to put a tube in, and then they've used up their emergency tube. And so these things get more complicated and kind of more stressful for them.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's really trial and error for new people when they start to taking a lot and then start to shed what they haven't used. But then, like you said, sometimes, if you are then on the front and then you want to be light, and then if you need something you might not have, but it's all a gamble, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you take too much. I always say to people, take everything you think you need, and then when you get home, go through it all, particularly with clothing and things, and take out the stuff you didn't use and figure out why you didn't use it. If you didn't use your rain jacket because it didn't rain, that's just a bonus. But if you didn't use your third spare undershirt or your second set of arm warmers, you probably don't need to take them. And so you can start cutting stuff from your kit list. And the same a bit with the toolkit. Go and chat with your mechanic, make friends with your local mechanic, keep them happy, go and pick their brains for information, and they'll tell you kind of what the best tools are, what things you need to fix stuff. And it's a surprisingly small amount of tools you need to do a huge amount of jobs on your bike, really. If you've got a decent set of Allen keys, some tyre levers, and stuff to fix your puncture, some chain lube, you're pretty much good to go.
Sounds good. I do think, though, that if you don't take your rain jacket, it always rains. So it's better to pack and not use it.
Absolutely. And, coming from England, it does almost always rain when you ride the bike. So, yeah, I'm very rarely without a rain jacket. But, yeah, rain jacket and long, full-fingered gloves. Cold hands is the worst when you're on the bike.
Yeah. This year, I don't know about other years, but I know this year you had a special mission on this race. You worked very closely with our paracyclist and adaptive cyclist, Mel Nichols and Wayne Herod. Tell me a little bit about the experience of supporting them on the race. I don't know if I should say support because this is self-supported, but I know you were there. And what mark that left on you personally?
So this is the second year Wayne has come, and the first year for Mel. And getting to know Wayne last year was a real eye-opener, and I learned a huge amount from it, just in terms of how lucky I am and how many things there are that you don't really consider when you're an able-bodied cyclist. So many challenges that you don't consider because you have no lived experience of those things. And particularly meeting Mel as well, you're meeting someone who's been hugely successful in their field, broken world records, been to Olympics, and is choosing to blaze a trail and push themselves to a point where they're risking failure, and there's lots of learning to go on. And to see that bravery from both Wayne and Mel to push themselves and find their limits is really inspiring. And I'm really proud to be part of an event that enables people to come and do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You see things that dot watchers and fans don't. What's one moment that Wayne and Mel you wish everyone could have witnessed?
I think watching last year, watching Wayne essentially collapse off the bike at the end of his race was hugely affecting. And then getting to the hotel and being with him while he was cleaning El Stumpy and beginning his the very first steps of his recovery, and seeing how deep he'd pushed himself was jaw-dropping, and has really stuck with me. Same again this year, watching him this year push himself further in a slightly different way. So I think Wayne was better this year in managing El Stumpy because he's learned a lot of lessons from last year, and I think a lot of the hidden stress of racing an ultra in a foreign country for all riders is you might be on a different side of the road, the traffic signals may work slightly differently, car drivers and pedestrians behave differently, the shops are different, the cafes are different, the food is slightly different, people eat at different times, shop opening times are different. You've got all these hidden stresses that everyone adapts to. When you also have to consider how do you get in and out of the shop. Are you able to walk in? Can you find somewhere to park your hand cycle and get out safely to get your crutches to then walk into the shop to buy things? Will someone be there to keep an eye on the hand cycle for you? Because that thing rolls away unless you put the brake on, which I hadn't realised until I first met Mel. And you put it down and all the wheels are on and it just starts rolling if there's a slight tilt in the road. But yeah, it was, I think, a huge experience for them all, and for me, seeing them just overcome those small challenges was really affecting. So watching Wayne this year, halfway up the climb to Campo Imperatore, stopping in the pouring rain to get some food, drying his stump and seeing the kind of blisters forming on his stump and him being prepared to push on to get to the gate and then get to the hotel was really inspiring. And for Mel to see her so determined to carry on, to push her boundaries, to overcome the sort of the fear and the overwhelming experience of being in a city centre in Italy, in Verona, was huge, and being so determined to ride more. And then the joy of her being able to ride on a kind of high-quality bike path where the infrastructure was able to support the hand cycle was brilliant. Like, to finish on that kind of high, or to see her go through that kind of high, as well as the lows from the day before, was really affecting.
Amazing. Thanks, Pete, very much.
Thank you. No, it's been a joy. It's a joy to come to the race, and it's really nice to get to talk to people about it.
Cool. I'm sure it will be super interesting for the listeners to know the experience behind the scenes of being a mechanic on this type of race. So thank you. And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.